Deion Sanders and Colorado continue to show us that they have a championship culture in the making. They're instilling it right now as we speak. And I'm going to talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Boulder. Today's episode, we got a good one. We're talking about a few different things. We're going to be talking about the championship culture that I think we could all see from afar being instilled in Colorado, or at Colorado, excuse me. And then we're going to be talking about recruiting and kind of what specific states the Buffs are targeting. I think there's a lot to be said on how many people they offer and who's in their class already. And so we'll discuss that. And then Coach Prime makes his return to Nike, and I'll discuss that at the end of the show. But before I do, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, your team every day right here. Okay, let's dive right in. There's a few instances I've seen of this, and I think obviously every program, whether it's Colorado to Rhode Island, they all want to establish a culture. I think it's hard to establish a culture sometimes, especially at places like Colorado, if you're not a strong-willed, strong-minded person like Coach Prime and his staff. I think had he inherited and kept those 1-11 guys, I think maybe it'd be a little more difficult. But he's got a slew of transfers, a slew of freshmen looking to prove themselves, looking to contend nationally. And he's said it a bunch of times he wants to contend nationally, but I think saying and doing are obviously different. But he's definitely taking the right steps to do so. And we saw a perfect example of this within the past few days. There's a couple that I'm going to talk about. For starters, there was a video going viral, I believe he said it was guys that were late to breakfast. He quoted one of these accounts that were, because they thought initially, they thought that he was naming guys who were underperforming, which I was pretty shook. I was like, that's a pretty crazy thing. Not crazy, but that's pretty wild that they're just, you know what, Kevin Bourne, you were terrible today. Get out. No, because one of the guys was Shiloh Sanders. But it turns out, according to Coach Prime, the source himself, that these guys were late for breakfast. And so he was calling them out in front of the team, holding them accountable. I like that. Obviously, I don't think that he needs to make Shiloh or Shadur an example. But I think when he's willing to punish his own son, I think that bodes well. And he's already punished Shiloh, I believe, before the conference championship game at Jackson State. He was late to something, I believe, and didn't play in the game. And obviously, no coach wants to have to sit out a starter. And I kind of think that, especially when that starter happens to be your son, that's even a little more painful. But that was the one thing I saw. And then the other, was actually, I think this topic was inspired by the comments made by the Alabama linebacker transferred Demoy Kennedy. When you go to Alabama, especially if you're a guy like Demoy Kennedy, who was like a borderline 5-star, played at both offense, defense, special teams in Alabama, didn't get a lot of playing time, but he played a little bit of everything. Saw a little bit of everything. Obviously, Alabama's the pinnacle of college football. Everyone wants to be like Alabama. He said that Colorado's strength and conditioning programs and just off-season stuff was a little more, let me get the right wording here, a little more technically sound than Alabama, which that's high praise. He said this in a video with the Life in Football. So he said, I'm not going to lie to you. CU workouts are crazy. CU teaches more techniques. Like, they actually sit there and teach you. They make sure you know the techniques and you're doing it right. That's the difference. But either way, both of them got you working. Which I think, and here's the thing. I think when you look at Colorado staff, I don't think it's a coincidence that Coach Prime was getting guys from Alabama. He has Charles Kelly, defensive coordinator, came from Alabama. Sal Sunseri, defensive line coach, came from Alabama. Then you look at like the strength and conditioning stuff, and you look at a guy like by the name of Coach Sims, who, by the way, Maurice Sims, came from Georgia. Spent time at Army, but if you guys are familiar with Georgia, that's Kirby Smart's stomping grounds. That's Kirby Smart's program. Who is he the protege or the younger, I guess the apprentice to? Nick Saban. I think that a lot of the, and I don't know, I don't think programs are trying to copy Alabama. I guess like Colorado's not trying to copy Alabama, but they are trying to take things from their culture, which is a good thing. Obviously, when you have a success like Alabama, you got to figure out what works and what doesn't. And so I think having guys from multiple different programs that have experienced success at the highest level come in and help a program like Colorado and Coach Prime, who also had success at a high level, I think it really sets the players up to succeed in a way that the program needs. And I think that's why I've talked about as his championship culture, because he's bringing in people who've won championships. Sims was a part of successful teams at Georgia. I think his background at Army also helps with the sternness, because those military guys go crazy. Then you guys got like guys like Charles Kelly, Sauce Sari. There's guys from LSU. There's guys from everywhere, and so they bring in talented coaches who know what it takes to win. And obviously it also helps with recruiting that they know these areas so well. But yeah, I think a lot of these off-season comments made by the transfers and stuff, I really like to see what they're saying, because a lot of these guys, they come from large programs. They come from Power 5 programs. Some of them are coming from the SEC. And so if they're saying that Colorado already in year one is kind of up to par with what the SEC is kind of doing, I think it bodes well. I think it really does. And I think a lot of the times when establishing a new culture, it's harder to find your footing. It's harder to get newer guys to buy in. And I don't think that's an issue here. I think in all the videos that we see from Well Off Media, love the videos. The guys respect Coach Prime. They respect everything that's going on. Obviously, there's some fun in there. So there's some joking around, but these guys are as serious as ever. And I think the championship culture is important. And I think in Colorado, I think there's going to be a difference. Obviously, when they're playing next season, if they get behind, this team's not going to fall apart. This team's definitely not going to be posting memes on TikTok and stuff about losing games, because I saw that last year from Colorado players. So really excited to see what this championship culture has to bring moving forward. By the way, this episode is brought to you by one of my favorite sponsors, and I know you guys are excited about this one, Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs make you look good. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you can get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dogs use anti-stink, anti-sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all summer long. I wear my Bird Dogs just about everything. To do everything, you can wear them to do an activity outside. You can wear them to a nice dinner. So if you want some Bird Dogs and a nice tumbler, go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. Okay. The other day, I was asked to talk about Colorado's recruiting targets in terms of how they're targeting recruits across the country. I thought it was an interesting question, and I thought it was something that I think we could all kind of learn something from. Because obviously, if you go back to Colorado's we'll go back to Carl Durrell's last class. They had specific, we'll go 2022, because I think when Coach Prime got there, it changed a little bit. Colorado's with Carl Durrell. This is the 2022 class. Their main offer, or all of their offers, most of their offers went to Texas. They offered 101 people from Texas, 60 from California, 26 from Georgia, 26 from Louisiana, 16 from Florida, 12 from Arizona. And then there's just like a handful of states like Colorado. They only offered 9. Moving forward to Coach Prime, we're going to look at this is officially his first class, his 2024 class. They're still targeting Texas, but not at the level they have been. 62 Texas, 59 offers to California, 54 to Florida, 48 to Georgia, and then it kind of takes a huge dip. It goes 12 Alabama, 12 Tennessee, 10 Colorado, 10 Missouri, 9 Arizona, Louisiana. And so I think this goes to show that Colorado's footprint is now moving to a more southern area. And obviously, when you look at their commits, because right now they have 8 commits, there's 3 from Georgia, 1 from California, 1 from Florida. I think, and Indiana, Michigan, Missouri. But obviously, we're focusing on those big 3: California, Florida. I think what does this tell you about Colorado football and where it's headed? Like I talked about, Coach Prime's building a championship culture, and typically, I'm not saying all the time, but a lot of the times, the best players in college football hail from the southern states, or California. Whether it's Florida produces nothing but stars. Georgia, same thing. You go just about any southern state down there, and there's a lot of talented guys. So Colorado is definitely trying to, I want to say, build an SEC program, but they're trying to build SEC caliber players, get them in Boulder, and build from there. Realistically, I think that's why I don't know if I would consider this to be a slow start to the recruiting class, but I definitely think people were expecting some bigger wins sooner, which they have some pretty big wins. Aaron Butler, top 70 player in the country. Brandon Davis-Swain, top 270 player in the country. We also know that Coach Prime his methods are a little different than most programs, so he's probably not going to bring in classes of 25 players every year. But even looking at, if we go back to this past class that ended up ranked the 21st class in the country, outside of, because they brought in 21st ranked class in the country. They got Cormani McLean, top ranked recruit, Florida. Dylan Edwards came from Kansas. Then it goes Adam Hopkins, Georgia. Amarian Miller, Louisiana. Tajay McCoy, Oklahoma. Another Oklahoma. California, Texas, Utah, Tennessee, Florida, modern day California. So he's targeting certain states. There's really, I don't want to say there's a reason that these states are better. I think there's just more competition, higher skill levels. And so Colorado's trying to get in the mix in all these other states. Something that Brian Smith, our recruiting expert here at Locked On, talked about is there's a new kind of energy around Colorado, and kids around the country are noticing. I think it's just until Colorado starts winning games and stuff, it's going to be a little more difficult to continuously get some of these guys. But he did say he's down there in South Florida and he's seeing Colorado hoodies, and he's like, most of the time these kids probably won't even know how to find Colorado on the map, and now they're rocking the Colorado merch. And so I think the more success Coach Prime has, the better. And realistically, on the recruiting trail, obviously, realistically, these Florida, California, Texas pipelines are going to be strong. They're going to continue to be strong. And it wouldn't shock me if there's classes completely made up for Colorado from obviously Texas, California, Florida, with a few mixed in here and there from other southern states, or like Danny O'Neill comes from Indiana. Obviously, quarterbacks are a little different. Skill positions, trenches, southern states, California, that's where you go. And so I wanted to kind of address that, the recruiting areas and how they're kind of attacking those. It really tells you a lot about the direction of the program, and it really tells you a lot about what this staff prioritizes compared to previous staffs who were kind of just, I don't know if the other staff was purposely just going after Texas and hoping that they could get the guys that seep through the cracks that the Texas A&M didn't get, University of Texas or whatever. But because even if you look at the 21 class for Colorado, nearly 90 offers from Texas, California. They barely touched Florida in 2021. They had 10 offers in total sent to people in Florida. And then their top recruit was from Colorado. 60, that's class ranked 65 in the country. Their top recruit was from Colorado, Arizona, Colorado, Oregon, Texas, Iowa, junior college, Nevada. So they haven't had a lot of success in those southern states, and that's what Coach Prime's brought. He's made it known that he wants those southern states. He said, Florida, I want your dogs. Texas, I want the dogs. So Coach Prime, he knows what he's doing. He's targeting all the good states that have all the talented players, and because of his brand, because of his cachet and the recruiting staff that he's around him, they're going to find success. So expect a lot of talented players that come from states that Colorado typically hasn't recruited that well. Before I move on, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. My everydayers, make sure to tune in every single day. Comment below some questions for Friday or Thursday. I'll probably do the question and answer stuff Thursday, because Friday we have a special guest in former USC quarterback Max Brown, who's currently a Pac-12 analyst. We're going to be talking about Coach Prime, what he's doing, what Max thinks of it, and the struggles that Deion Sanders may face as a quarterback in the Pac-12. So you won't want to miss that. I'm going to talk about Coach Prime's reuniting with Nike when we come back. Welcome back. We're talking about Coach Prime reuniting with Nike, one of the biggest storylines of the past few days. Coach Prime took to Instagram the other day, and well, I liked this quote. This was brought up when people were talking about this. If you look good, you feel good, and if you feel good, you play good. And we obviously know that Colorado is a Nike school, but Coach Prime had a long-standing sponsorship with Under Armour. He even brought Under Armour to Jackson State, got them the cool new uniforms that they had with them. Those really, I don't know if you call metallic or chrome. I think you're chrome. Those chrome helmets, super nice. But now that he's at Colorado, it's a Nike school. You don't really get to mess with these kind of brands, and just because you got a personal brand in college, you definitely got to go with your school's sponsored brand. But the other day he took to Instagram and posted "We Coming," and was posing with his signature Nike shoes from back in his playing days, which obviously those shoes were iconic. Honestly, I'm going to age myself a little bit. I knew of those shoes. I had seen those shoes plenty of times. Didn't realize that Coach Prime had a signature shoe. I wrote about this over at Athlon, so if you want to go check it out there. They're called the Nike Air Diamond Turf Shoe. He was wearing the Turf Max 96 at Colorado's spring game, and revealed this over the past few days that he's rejoining Nike, and they're relaunching his signature line with the Prime logo, which is pretty cool. The Nike Air Diamond Turf Shoe will now have a Prime logo, which was introduced back in 1993, drawing inspiration from the fact that he was a baseball and football athlete, football player, very good at both. He obviously is going to have a lot of swag, and honestly, I think we saw a little sneak peek because his jackets that he was wearing had Prime and stuff. I kind of just thought, I just took that as he gets custom stuff. Didn't realize he was bringing back the gear, the apparel, so that's exciting. Interested to see if the Buffs are at any time rocking them. He kind of rocked this cool color in the Instagram photo, had his Falcons red, obviously a little gold on there for Colorado. Really nice shoe though, really nice shoe. I think those would have Colorado players looking real good. I think also, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. How many other coaches in college football have a shoe deal with Nike? I would say the only other one that I could think may ever have one is whoever's coaching in Oregon, just because they have Phil Knight. Obviously, that's Nike University over there. Phil Knight, he's a co-founder of Nike, went to Oregon. Obviously, he's always given. That's the reason Oregon has a billion uniform combinations. But we talked about recruiting. We talked about the championship culture. Coach Prime having a Nike deal, while some people are like, "Oh, it's cool, yeah," that helps dramatically. I've been told by recruits they haven't gone to certain schools because they were sponsored by Under Armour or they were sponsored by Adidas or something. Kids look at brands, and not every kid, but a lot of recruits look at brands and they're like, I don't really want to wear that. But Nike, and your coach has a deal with Nike, that's going to help a lot in recruiting. Coach Prime doesn't really need help recruiting, but he just always finding ways to help himself in the recruiting trail. He brings in guys who have ties with certain states, whether it's Florida, Texas, Georgia. He brings in coaches who come from programs that know how to win. They know what it takes to win. They've been around winning culture. He's targeting different states than we've ever seen before at Colorado and finding success. And now he has a Nike deal, and you're going to tell me that's not going to help him recruit more with all these big programs? I would tell you you're wrong. Coach Prime with the Nike deal, I think that's a huge move. I think it's more than just, he's at a Nike school. I think it's him flexing his muscle a little bit and kind of showing college football recruits, listen, I'm the coolest coach in college football. I got Nike deals. We're gonna have every school has player exclusive stuff, but not every school has a coach with a Nike line. So I think it's going to help Colorado's case more than people realize. Obviously, it's not going to be the difference in the recruitment, but it'll definitely help them. It'll definitely get them on the radar of other top recruits. And I look forward to seeing how well it helps them. I look forward to seeing your guys' responses in the comments to how well you think it helps. But this concludes today's episode of Locked On Buffs. I'm Kevin Bourne. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, comment. I want to thank you guys for, again, tuning into Locked On Buffs, and have a great Monday and a great start to your week.